My perfect sister demanded I fund her lavish lifestyle after our grandparents left me everything, and now her engagement is imploding. Throwaway account for obvious reasons. This is going to be a long one, so buckle up. I, 30F, have always been the black sheep of my family, especially compared to my older sister, Amelia, 32F. She was the golden child, the straight-A student, the beauty queen, the one who could do no wrong. I was not. I struggled in school, was a bit awkward, and never quite fit into the mold my parents had carved out for their perfect family. My grandparents, however, were different. My mom's parents, Nana and Papa, saw something in me that my parents seemed to overlook. They nurtured my interests, celebrated my small victories, and always made me feel loved and valued, not just for what I achieved, but for who I was. Amelia, on the other hand, was always showered with material gifts from them, almost as if my grandparents were trying to appease my parents by outwardly favoring Amelia while privately doting on me. When Nana passed away 5 years ago, it was devastating. Papa followed her a year later. Their passing left a gaping hole in my life. The will reading was a tense affair. My parents and Amelia were practically salivating, expecting a substantial inheritance to add to their already comfortable lives. My parents always believed they deserved a larger share because they were the responsible ones, and Amelia because she was the successful one. Imagine their faces when the lawyer read out that almost everything, their beautiful lakeside house, a significant investment portfolio, and several valuable antiques, was left to me. Amelia received a modest sum, enough for a nice vacation, and my parents got a smaller, but still respectable, sum of cash. The lawyer explained that Nana and Papa had always admired my independent spirit and believed I would use the inheritance to build a life on my own terms, free from the financial pressures they knew I might face as the less favored child. He also mentioned a sealed letter for me to be opened in private. The immediate aftermath was a firestorm. My mother cried, claiming I had manipulated my grandparents. My father fumed about disrespecting the family hierarchy. But Amelia's reaction was on another level. She went from disbelief to absolute rage. "This isn't fair," she shrieked, her face contorted. "I'm the one who always made them proud. I'm the one with the successful career, the perfect fiancé, the one who deserves a stable future." She was engaged at the time to David, a seemingly charming but somewhat bland man from a wealthy family. I tried to explain, tried to calm them down, but it was useless. My parents kept saying I should do the right thing and share it, especially the house, with Amelia. Amelia, meanwhile, launched into a tirade about how I was selfish, ungrateful, and had clearly wormed my way into Nana and Papa's good graces purely for financial gain. I showed them the letter from my grandparents, which explicitly stated their wishes and their reasons for leaving the bulk of the estate to me. It was a beautiful, heartfelt letter about believing in me, encouraging me to pursue my dreams, and telling me they knew I'd use it wisely. It didn't matter. They accused me of forging it. I did, however, get to keep the letter, and the sentiment behind it became my anchor during the storm. I eventually moved into Nana and Papa's house, which was a dream come true. It was filled with so many memories. I slowly started to renovate it, bringing it back to life while honoring their legacy. I also decided to pursue my passion for art, something I'd always put on the back burner because my parents considered it an impractical career choice. The inheritance allowed me to take classes, set up a studio, and truly dedicate myself to it without immediate financial pressure. I finally felt free. For a while, things were civil, if strained. My parents and Amelia would make passive-aggressive comments, but I mostly ignored them. Amelia's wedding to David was set for 2 years after my grandparents passed. She was obsessed with having the most lavish wedding possible, something her fiancé's parents were largely funding. She talked incessantly about the designer dress, the exclusive venue, the gourmet catering. I was a bridesmaid, and honestly, the whole experience was exhausting. Amelia was a bridezilla of epic proportions, constantly demanding my time and attention, all while still subtly hinting that I should be helping her out financially, given my windfall. About a year after the inheritance, Amelia's demands started escalating. She'd call me, not to chat, but to complain about some new expense for the wedding or a perceived slight from David's family. Then came the suggestions. "You know, that lakeside house is a bit big for just one person," she'd say casually. "David and I could really use a place like that to start our family. You could just sell it and get a smaller condo." Or, "My catering bill is astronomical. You wouldn't believe how much they're charging for organic free-range quails. It would be really helpful if you could just chip in a little." A little usually meant several $1,000s. I always politely but firmly declined, explaining that my grandparents' inheritance was for my future, as they intended. This continued for months. Every conversation with Amelia devolved into her hinting, then outright asking for money. She'd show up uninvited at my house, not to visit, but to admire the renovations and subtly criticize my choices, then pivot to how she would have decorated it if she owned it. It was infuriating. My parents, of course, were on her side. They'd call me, stressing the importance of family and how I was being ungenerous. They even brought up the idea of me giving Amelia the money to buy an apartment, as a wedding gift from the family. I refused. Then, about 6 months ago, Amelia dropped a bombshell. David's family, while wealthy, were also incredibly traditional and somewhat old-fashioned. They expected their daughter-in-law to be a homemaker, or at least have a career that was easily manageable alongside raising children and hosting society events. Amelia, with her high-flying corporate job, was starting to butt heads with them. More importantly, David's parents had recently informed them that while they were happy to contribute significantly to the wedding, they wouldn't be buying them a house. They expected David and Amelia to purchase their own home, albeit with some help for the down payment from David's trust fund, which wouldn't be accessible until after the wedding. This sent Amelia into a tailspin. She had been operating under the assumption that David's parents would simply buy them a sprawling mansion. Now, she was faced with the reality of a mortgage and actually having to manage finances. This is where her perfect facade started to crack. Turns out, Amelia was terrible with money. She spent impulsively, always lived beyond her means, and had racked up a significant amount of credit card debt. David, being financially comfortable, had always covered her excesses without much thought, but now that they were planning a joint financial future, he was starting to see the cracks. One evening, Amelia called me, completely distraught. David had apparently discovered the extent of her credit card debt and had put his foot down. He was upset she hadn't been honest with him. He was also starting to question her extravagant spending habits, especially regarding the wedding. He told her that if they were going to get married, they needed to be transparent about their finances, and she needed to start being more responsible. He even suggested they downsize the wedding. Amelia was furious at David, but even more so at me. "This is your fault," she screamed over the phone. "If you had just given me some of that inheritance, I wouldn't be in this position. I could have paid off my debts, and David wouldn't be mad." I was stunned. I calmly told her that her financial issues were her own responsibility, and that blaming me for them was completely unfair. I reminded her that I had my own life and my own plans for the inheritance, just as Nana and Papa intended. That call was the breaking point. Amelia started harassing me. She'd send me emotionally manipulative texts, talking about how I was ruining her life and her wedding. She'd call me late at night, sometimes crying, sometimes screaming. My parents, predictably, sided with her. They staged an intervention, sitting me down and telling me I was tearing the family apart by being so selfish. My mother even suggested that my grandparents would be disappointed in me for not sharing with family. I finally snapped. I told them that Nana and Papa had explicitly wanted me to have this, for me, and that their attempts to manipulate me into giving it to Amelia were disrespectful to my grandparents' memory. I also told them that if they continued to push this, I would cut contact. The intervention ended with them accusing me of being cold and unfeeling. A few weeks later, Amelia sent me a long, rambling email. In it, she detailed a new, brilliant plan. Since David's parents weren't buying them a house, and David wouldn't access his trust fund until after the wedding, She proposed that I loan her the money for a down payment. A significant amount, mind you, enough for a very substantial down payment on a luxury condo. She even included a repayment plan, which basically involved her paying me back in tiny installments over several decades, interest-free. She argued that this would save her marriage, salvage her reputation with David's family, and allow her to have the dream home she deserved. The kicker. She wanted me to sign a legal document promising her the money before the wedding, so she could show it to David and his parents and ease their concerns. She said it was the least I could do for my older sister, though I read the email in disbelief. It wasn't even a request, it was a demand, laced with veiled threats about how I would destroy her life if I didn't comply. I showed the email to a trusted friend, who was horrified. She urged me to go no contact, at least for a while. So I did. I blocked Amelia's number, blocked her on all social media, and set my parents' calls to go straight to voicemail. I needed space. I needed peace. I knew this would cause a massive family fallout, but I couldn't take the emotional abuse anymore. For about a month, there was radio silence, which was glorious. I focused on my art, enjoyed my peaceful home, and felt a sense of calm I hadn't experienced in years. Then, the calls from David started coming in. At first, I ignored them, thinking it was another attempt to get me to talk to Amelia. But he was persistent. Finally, I picked up. David sounded stressed, almost desperate. He started by apologizing for Amelia's behavior, saying he knew she had been out of line. He then explained that things were rapidly deteriorating between them. The wedding was just 2 months away, and they were having massive arguments almost daily about money. He confessed that Amelia had been pressuring him relentlessly to convince me to give her money, and he was at his wit's end. He said Amelia had even hinted that if she didn't get this loan from me, she might call off the wedding, which was causing enormous stress with his family, who had already invested so much. He then dropped the real bombshell. Amelia had been telling David and his family that I had promised her money for a down payment on a house, but was now reneging on my word. She had spun a whole narrative about how I was jealous of her happiness and was deliberately trying to sabotage her marriage. David, while initially believing Amelia, was starting to have doubts. He said he remembered me being fairly private about the inheritance and couldn't recall me ever promising Amelia anything. He called me because he wanted to hear my side directly. I took a deep breath and explained everything, calmly and factually. I told him about the will, about my grandparents' intentions, about Amelia's escalating demands, and about the email where she practically demanded a down payment. I even offered to send him a copy of the letter from my grandparents, and if I could retrieve it, the email from Amelia, though I had deleted it out of anger. I emphasized that I had never, ever promised her a single cent beyond what she received in the will. I made it clear that my inheritance was for my life, and that Amelia's financial irresponsibility was not my burden to bear. There was a long silence on David's end. When he finally spoke, his voice was tight with anger, but not at me. I can't believe this, he said. She's been lying to me, to my parents. She made it sound like you were some kind of villain. He thanked me profusely for my honesty and apologized again for the trouble Amelia had caused. He said he needed to process this, but that he understood now. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of hushed phone calls from my parents, begging me to fix things with Amelia and David. Apparently, David had confronted Amelia, armed with the information I'd given him. Their arguments intensified. His parents were now involved, deeply upset that Amelia had lied to them and about me. The wedding planning had ground to a halt. Then came the text from my mother, a frantic string of words about the wedding being on the brink. Amelia had apparently confessed to David that she had indeed made up the story about me promising her money. But instead of apologizing, she had tried to justify it, saying she was just desperate and that family helps family. This, combined with the true extent of her credit card debt that David's family discovered after he initiated a full financial disclosure, was apparently the final straw for David. Last night, my father called, sounding utterly defeated. David has called off the engagement. Not postponed, but off. He apparently told Amelia that he couldn't marry someone who was so financially irresponsible, so manipulative, and who would lie so blatantly about family members. His parents were also deeply offended by Amelia's behavior and the fact that she had tried to paint me as the villain. They were pulling all their financial contributions to the wedding. Amelia is, predictably, devastated and furious. She's blaming me entirely, of course. My parents are trying to mediate, but it's clear this is beyond their control. They're still trying to pressure me, but their usual tactics feel hollow now. David even sent me a text, apologizing again and saying he admired my strength in standing up to Amelia. He also said that while it was a difficult decision, he knew it was the right one. I feel a strange mix of emotions. Part of me feels terrible for Amelia, knowing how much she wanted that wedding and that life. But a much larger part of me feels a profound sense of relief and vindication. I stood my ground. I protected what my grandparents left me, and I finally broke free from the cycle of emotional manipulation. It's messy, it's dramatic, and my family is in turmoil, but for the first time in a long time, I feel truly at peace with my decision. I don't know what the future holds for my relationship with my family, but I do know that I'm no longer willing to sacrifice my peace or my inheritance for their approval or Amelia's endless demands.